Good morning, distinguished guests of some Civil War poetry. My name is Vincent Hannum. I'm coming to you live, 7:30 Central Standard Time from the great city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm here to read some poetry, talk a little bit about the Civil War, and maybe connect some dots to today's current events. Um, okay, yeah. So first things first, I like to see what was shaken this day in Civil War history. And the most interesting thing that I'd like to share this morning is in 1863 in New York, order was restored by Union troops returning from Gettysburg. The riots had began on July 11th. Hold up, riots? New York? Just what was going on July 17th, 1863. Well, Lincoln had ordered what I believe was the first federal draft for a war. So, guess what? People weren't happy and began rioting in New York City. So, those draft riots lasted quite a few days, killed quite a few people. Really interesting history. Go look it up. I would recommend. Our quote for the day is by President Lincoln after being reelected on November 8th, 1864. He said, "I earnestly believe that the consequences of this day's work will be to the lasting advantage, if not the very salvation, of the country." Yeah, I would agree with that. Just real quick, Lincoln was up against George B. McClellan for presidency, and McClellan had been one of his top generals earlier in the war. And at this point in the war, um, the northern population were kind of willing to just give it to the South, right? Like the South wasn't trying to conquer the North, they just wanted their independence. And the North was willing to concede on that, a large segment of the population. And McClellan represented that. So, had McClellan won, he probably would have just sued for peace, thus creating two United States of Americas, if that's how the plural works on that, um, leaving millions of African Americans in bondage. And you think we have it bad today? I don't even want to envision a world where there's another country where if slavery doesn't still exist, civil rights are a complete um, non-starter. So say what you will, Lincoln and the Union fighting for emancipation, or at least to preserve the Union, was by no doubt a glorious thing. So just keep that in mind when thinking about what this war meant to millions of African American slaves. Our poems for today are cool. I got one from one of my favorite authors, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And real quick spiel. The book is Poetry of the Civil War. It's divided into two parts, the blue and the gray. Each morning, I will read one poem from each side just to see what contemporary folks were thinking of the war at the time. Speaking of African Americans, I do not know if any are written by them. I have every reason to believe these are all white authors, which is fine, just in the sake of diversity. And since African Americans were the central focus of the war, it would be nice to hear from their point of view, at least poetically. So, hey, if you have any suggestions out there, leave them in the comments, and I will definitely feature them. I mean, not that I can't do that on my own, anyways, but I'm trying to create some discussion here. Um, like, subscribe, and share. Okay, so this is Ralph Waldo Emerson. He is writing from a northern perspective. And wow, way to go, Vincent. Can't find his bio. Okay, 1803 to 1882. Was born in Boston, Massachusetts, the son of a Unitarian minister. He attended Harvard and after graduation worked as a teacher and schoolmaster. Emerson later attended Harvard Divinity School and in 1829 became a Unitarian minister. He resigned 3 years later following a dispute with church officials. A leading thinker and essayist, much of Emerson's livelihood was derived from his skill as a public orator. His books often grew out of his lectures. Three collections of poetry, Poems, 1847, May Day and Other Places, 1867, and Selected Poems, 1876, were published during his lifetime. Real quick plug about him. His essay titled Nature, at least in this collection, Selected Writings, I read it over a camping trip. Not saying you have to go camping and be alone in the woods to read Nature, but it was transformative. It spoke so much on world philosophy and personal philosophy and nature and worldview. Like game changing. Check it out. So our other poet for the day, his name is William Gordon McCabe. He is writing from a southern point of view. He lived between 1841 and 1920. Was born in Richmond, Virginia. Following the state's withdrawal from the Union, he left his studies to enlist in the Confederate Army. A private in the Army of Northern Virginia, he soon rose to the rank of captain. At the end of hostilities, he returned to Virginia. He was the author of several books and edited several anthologies, including Ballads of Battle and Bravery in 1873. So there you go. That's William Gordon McCabe, a Virginia man through and through. All right. Now to the fun part. Ralph Waldo Emerson. His poem is titled Boston Hymn, read in Music Hall January 1st, 1863. The word of the Lord by night to the watching pilgrims came, as they sat by the seaside and filled their hearts with flame. God said, I am tired of kings, I suffer them no more. Up to my ear the morning brings the outrage of the poor. Think ye I made this ball a field of havoc and war, where tyrants great and tyrants small might harry the weak and poor? My angel, my name is Freedom. Choose him to be your king. He shall cut pathways east and west and fend you with his wing. Lo, I uncover the land which I hid of old time in the west, as the sculptor uncovers the statue when he has wrought his best. I show Columbia of the rocks which dip their foot in the seas and soar to the airborne flocks of clouds and the boreal fleece. I will divide my goods, call in the wretch and slave. None shall rule but the humble, and none but toil shall have. I will never, I will have never a noble, no lineage counted great. Fishers and choppers and plowmen shall constitute a state. Go, cut down trees in the forest, and trim the straightest boughs. Cut down trees in the forest, and build me a wooden house. Call the people together, the young men and the sires, the digger in the harvest field, hireling and him that hires. And here in a pine state house they shall choose men to rule, in every needful faculty, in church and state and school. Lo now, if these poor men can govern the land and sea, and make just laws below the sun, as planets faithful be. And ye shall succor men, 'tis nobleness to serve, help them who cannot help again, beware from right to swerve. I break your bonds and masterships, and I unchain the slave. Free be his heart and hand henceforth as wind and wandering wave. I cause from every creature his proper good to flow, as much as he is and doeth, so much he shall bestow. But lay hands on another to coin his labor and sweat, he goes in pawn for his victim for eternal years in debt. Today unbind the captive, so only are ye unbound. Lift up a people from the dust, trump of their rescue sound. Pay ransom to the owner and fill the bag to the brim. Who is the owner? The slave is owner, and ever was. Pay him. O North, give him beauty for rags and honor. O South, for his shame. Nevada, coin thy golden crags with freedom's image and name. Up, and the dusky race that sat in darkness long, be swift their feet as antelopes, and as behemoth strong. Come, east and west and north, by races as snowflakes, and carry my purpose forth, which neither halts nor shakes. My will fulfilled shall be, for in daylight or in dark, my thunderbolt has eyes to see his way home to the mark. Boston Hymn, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Very hymnally, very preachy there in a good way. And yeah, when he talks of freedom and the slaves being free, I would just want to point out that this was given on January 1st, 1863, which is Emancipation Day. It's when the Emancipation Proclamation did go into effect, so that that's what he's talking about there. All right, well, we will move on to our Confederate poem for the morning. Again, it is by William Gordon McCabe, and it's titled Christmas Night of 62. So, hey, maybe they'll wake up with some coal in their stocking. Who knows? The wintry blast goes wailing by, the snow is falling overhead. I hear the lonely sentries tread, and distant watchfires light the sky. Dim forms go flitting through the gloom, the soldiers cluster round the blaze to talk of other Christmas days, and softly speak of home and home. My saber swinging overhead gleams in the watchfire's fitful glow, while fiercely drives the blinding snow, and memory leads me to the dead. My thoughts go wandering to and fro, vibrating twixt the now and then. I see the low-browed home again, the old hall wreathed with mistletoe. And sweetly from the far-off years comes borne the laughter faint and low, the voices of the long ago. My eyes were wet with tender tears. I feel again the mother kiss, I see again the glad surprise that lightened up the tranquil eyes and brimmed them o'er with tears of bliss. As, rushing from the old hall door, she fondly clasped her wayward boy, her face all radiant with the joy she felt to see him home once more. My saber swinging on the bow gleams in the watchfire's fitful glow, while fiercely drives the blinding snow aslant upon my saddened brow. Those cherished faces all are gone, asleep within the quiet graves, where lies the snow in drifting waves, and I am sitting here alone. There's not a comrade here tonight, but knows that loved ones far away, on bended knees this night will pray, God bring our darling from the fight. But there are none to wish me back, for me no yearning prayers arise. The lips are mute and closed the eyes. My home is in the bivouac. All right. So Mr. McCabe there is feeling quite homesick. He's feeling quite nostalgic and mournful, and that is not often a note that we hear from the Confederate side. They're usually pretty gung ho about everything. So that was nice. That was nice. I got the it's the classic tale of every soldier everywhere just wants to go home, especially if they're a Christian soldier or whatever. That Christmas is a great time to be home. Emerson's poem was also great. You could tell that he was an abolitionist, and at least for him, the war was about freeing the slaves. So, great stuff. Tomorrow we are going to feature author unknown. Hey, the anonymous poets are always fun. The poem is called Missing. That's our Union poem. And our Confederate poem is going to be called The Jacket of Gray. And that is by Carolyn A. Ball. So there are definitely women poets in here. I'm always interested on their takes. So there you go. The show is some Civil War poetry. Check out some links below to this book, some other resources, links below to the poems themselves if you want to, take a peek. And we'll see you live again tomorrow or not live in the afternoon. Thanks a lot. Take care. Real quick, not tomorrow, totally whiffed. Today is Friday. I'll be back here Monday. This is a Monday through Friday program. So sleep in tomorrow. See you next week.